So next we're going to look at the quick link section. So the first thing in the quick link section is the wedding map. So the wedding map is something that I created. It's not really a must, but I at least wanted to explain how we're using it in case you find it useful too. So we always create a Google map whenever we're doing any traveling or any trips. It helps us map out all the different locations that we want to go to, where we're staying, things like that. And it just helps us make sure that we're kind of planning the most efficient itinerary. So when it came to wedding planning, we ended up taking a trip down to the location that we wanted to get married in, and I mapped out all the venues that we were looking at the time on the map, and that helped me to kind of see what were the venues near. I wanted to make sure my guests had access to certain things, so the location was important to me. And then once we picked our venue, I cleared out all the venues that we didn't select, and I've just been using the map to kind of map out where everything's located. When we were looking at rehearsal dinners, where were the rehearsal dinner options compared to the venue, and where people were going to be staying, as well as if maybe your ceremony and reception are going to be in two different places. Just this way, it might be helpful to look at it in a map view to kind of map out what do you want that commute to look like and things like that. So a map can be helpful for those reasons. If you do end up creating a Google map, you can link it here. You can just highlight it, click link, and then you'll be able to put that link right in there. And then once you're done, you can delete this text because you don't need it anymore, and then you'll just be able to quickly jump over to your map. The next thing in the quick link section is the wedding spreadsheet that I created. So Notion's super powerful tool, but there's just some things that I personally like to do in a spreadsheet. They're just a little scrappier and maybe just not as pretty. So this spreadsheet is just a template version of what I created for myself. This came organically, so if you don't want to watch this part of the video, feel free to skip ahead. The template does have comments at the top of each template that explains the purpose of that template and why I created that tab. So if you want a copy of this, just go up to File, Make a Copy, and then that'll put a copy of it into your personal Google Drive. And then once you have that copy in your personal Google Drive, I recommend replacing. You can click Edit and replace the URL here with your copy. Otherwise, you'll keep going to my copy and it won't probably be the most useful for you. So if you're using this, this tab is for helping get that preliminary head count. You will need to have some idea of your head count to really be able to properly vet venues and catering. Both of those need to have a rough estimate of how many people you plan to invite, whether it be for the cost of it, but also some places have minimum head counts. Almost every place has a maximum, but I was surprised at how many venues had minimum head counts. So you have to be able to meet a certain minimum number of people attending your wedding. So this can help you get an idea of making sure that you can actually find a venue that fits your guest list. In here, you can mark people as guests or whether they're in the wedding. You can say what side they're on or who they're being requested by to attend. You can also change this. You can, for us, for our personal copy, I had our names in here instead of bride and groom. So feel free to change that as you would like. And then this is just, this is what the tallies are going to be based off of. Are they a must invite? Like, there's just no doubt that this person will be invited to your wedding. Are they a nice to have? You would absolutely love to have them. If budget, headcount, whatever allows, this person would be just a joy to have. And then there's the people that maybe are a little bit more, an obligation to invite, or whatever the case may be. If push came to the shove, you could drop them. That is the optional people. So then that will help give you an idea. Over here, it'll add up, all the numbers and tell you what your head count is. This is a timeline that I created. This I actually created after I booked our venue. So this probably won't be something that you're ready for right away, but just so you have an idea of how I was using it, once we booked our venue, I knew we booked a 4-hour package, and I knew there was a rule with our venue that the reception had to end by 10 p.m. So based on that, our reception needed to start at 6. Cocktail hour would be start at 5, and then the ceremony was going to be right before that, starting at 4:30. We knew that we wanted to do our pictures and our first look before all of the official ceremony and everything. So based on that, I knew I would want some buffer time between all the pictures and the actual ceremony and reception. So I put in this half-hour buffer for us to get back up to the room, freshen up, get a sip of water, whatever the case may be, have just a minute before we all head down the aisle. So I was able to plan up to that. Then once we started talking to photographers, those conversations helped give me a better idea of what this timeline was going to look like. And then once we picked our photographer, we were able to get closer to finalizing it. This will still probably be tweaked as we get closer to the date, but this gave me a good idea. So that way, when I went into my hair and makeup vendor conversations, I was able to tell them, well, as of right now, we're planning to start the get ready pictures at 12:30. So based on that, then they were able to tell me, okay, we need to start by 10 a.m. And we were able to work, I was able to kind of work backwards all the way from the reception to there. And then I have some buffer time in there for the girls to eat some breakfast and everything, so we don't have any hangry bridesmaids. And then down here, this is my attempt at trying to coordinate the hair and makeup to make sure that no girl is expected to be in the same, getting her hair and makeup done at the same time. So try to space everybody out and make sure that nobody needs to be in 2 places at once. And then the next page is the budget. So budgets are difficult, especially with weddings. I know I particularly was shocked at the cost. We all know weddings are expensive, but it was probably double what I thought once I started looking at prices of everything. So I realized, I needed to up my expectations, and I upped it to $30,000. And then I found this site, this page that the Knot had posted that kind of breaks down what your wedding budget should look like according to data. So 37% of your budget goes to venue, 20% to catering, 12% to band. So I took that and I used my estimate of a budget of $30,000 as my constant, and then I multiplied that by, for the venue, 37%. That tells me that the venue is going to be, the estimate is $11,100. Catering, 29% times 30,000 is 8,700. So, plug in whatever your base number is for budget purposes, and then see how that pans out. You can see for me, it ended up saying, that this page clearly, these percentages don't add up to 100%. So it ends up being much more than 30,000. It ended up being 48,500 as my estimate, which was quite shocking. So I found another page of how to plan your dream wedding in under 30,000. This one has a bit more like hard numbers instead of percentages. So I plugged those in this column so you can see there. And then I went through and kind of did our estimates. So having a videographer was not the most important to us. So I immediately cut that just to try to save some money here and there. And then I just went through and, change the numbers to what my guesstimates were going to be for us. And then once we actually started booking things, I ended up adding this column because I wanted to see how our actuals were comparing to our estimates. And then down here, this will show the difference between our estimates and the actuals. And you can kind of see how on point or far off you were. This tab might not be the most elaborate for you guys, or it might not be of interest, but if anybody has a similar mindset and wants to play around with these, I figured I'd leave it here. Venue research is the next one. So for comparing all the venues that we wanted to go see, I plugged all of them in to this spreadsheet so that I could compare them point by point. Any areas that I didn't have the information for, I highlighted those and I used that as part of my questions when we went on the tour. So say somebody didn't mention the parking situation in any of the packages, then when we were there, I asked them what the parking situation was. Was there on-site parking? Did people need to do street parking? Was there valet, etc.? And then after each visit, I would go back in, populate this spreadsheet, and then it just helped me to narrow it down. We ended up loving the first venue that we looked at and the last venue that we looked at. And so we love them both so much, we were having a hard time deciding. So that's where this tab ended up coming into play. This tab was us doing a side-by-side comparison of the two venues. So, what are their estimated cost? Linens, for example, one venue only had white linens, the other venue had an assortment of colors. One venue had valet parking, one had just self-parking. One place offered a cake, one place you were on your own for the cake. So there was, each place had its own thing. So we just went in, wrote down the facts of each location, and then together we went line by line and said, okay, of these two, which do we prefer? And so, I liked the place that had the colorful linens because I wanted color. So line by line we would go in and we would pick one to highlight green. So which coordinator did we like better? And then we'd highlight it green. Which hotel room? Highlight it green. And so then as you go through, it can become very obvious which one's the winner. For example, for me, the thing that I was really holding on to from venue 1 was they had a beautiful getting ready room. This was like a little mini salon for me and my girls. It would have been absolutely adorable. But I mean, they just didn't compare, for all the other things that they had, it just didn't compare to the second place. The second venue just had, everything. They had so many more green highlights. And so I had to realize that the getting ready room was probably not the thing to pick a venue for. Had to let it go and go with the venue that really made the most sense and had everything else that we wanted. It just didn't have that one room, which is not the primary room of the event. So it can be easy to get hung up on those little wow factors. But when you do the side by side, it can really help to put everything into perspective. And then there's also a photographer comparison page here that we used to compare. So a lot of the photographer, like there's the core things that you're going to be looking for: cost, what hours and stuff do they cover, do they just do the reception, are they willing to stay and do, getting ready photos, or maybe you want them to photograph a last dance at the end of the night. Like things like that are things that you should talk to them about. Is it one photographer or two? Do you get digital copies? A lot of photographers offer an engagement session included in their package. Do you get edits as a part of the package? Are there any travel costs? And then these are kind of the less standard offerings. So some places offered a album of the photos. Some places had a photo booth in some of their packages. Some offered a custom wedding website. Some offered drone coverage. If you're doing an outdoor event, that might make more sense for you. And then others offered like thank you cards or save the dates that are included. So it's really what's important to you, and these are some of the things that I came across. Feel free, add to this if you come across other things, remove things that don't matter to you. And you'll see some of the photographers have multiple columns under their name. That's because they probably had multiple packages. So I was not only comparing against photographers, but also comparing their packages too. So if, for example, I guess our photographer number 2 didn't have it, so if you need to add another column, you can just add, combine them. There you go. So that is the spreadsheet. Back to the rest of the quick links. So the Bride Tribe is a page that I created to really talk to my bridesmaids and my bridal party. So they're all located in different states, so getting together in person is not super easy. So we have been relying on Zoom calls and stuff to get together to talk through everything. So I created this little discussion board, so I'm not blowing up their phones with text all the time. If there's something that I really want to discuss that's more than a quick text, I just add a topic here. So new topic, and then I can add, don't forget to tell them X, Y, and Z. And any notes that I have that I, want to jot down so that I don't forget about it, I put it here. And now that is on our discussion board. So when we next get together and we're going through the board, we pull things into discussing. As we're talking about it, we can write down any notes that we have. But if there's any action items that come out of things, then you can also create, action item for maid of honor. And then that is actually different than than your wedding task list, which I showed you before. This is just a mini task list that just lives within this Bride Tribe page and is very specific to this group. So you don't have to worry about them adding things here and it going into your main wedding task. This is just, to help manage them. And then as they complete any task, then they can just, check it off. Now, as you're discussing things, once you're done, you can either move it to discussed, but if it's something that you maybe need to you're done for now, but you need to come back to it, you can just put it in the parking lot and revisit in a different conversation. And then up here is this is a section that I created of just my requests. So your bridal party is generally the one that organizes your bridal shower and your bachelorette. So to help them know what I wanted, I created these 2 pages that just had any thoughts and requests that I might have. I put a little list here to kind of help you guys think of what they might need to know. So is there a specific location that you had in mind? Or even a specific venue. Maybe you want it at a certain restaurant or hall or something. Or maybe you just know that you want it in a certain town or state. So just giving them an idea of the location, any month, day, or specific date that you had in mind, maybe the day of the week that you want. Showers are generally tend to fall on Sundays, but maybe you want a Saturday shower. Things like that. Do you want a theme? And then, of course, the girls are going to end up needing a guest list for you for the shower, so be sure to start getting that ready for them. And then one question that I got asked that I was not expecting, but I threw in here for you guys is, do you want the invites for the shower to match the wedding invites? For me, I didn't care, but maybe that is something. Maybe you want some consistency between all of the invitations that guests are going to be receiving. And then for the bachelorette, same idea. Is there a location that you want to go to? How many days do you want to be there for? Who do you want invited? Do you want to stay at a hotel? Do you want to rent a house with the group? Any activities that you want to do, and any theme night request. There could be other things outside of this list. This is just to kind of get you thinking about what they might need for planning. So that's pretty much the Bride Tribe page. Feel free to change this up. You can change pictures and change this around to fit you guys. I tried to make it a bit generic for now. And then there's the same for the groom's crew. My groom is personally not using this. He's just texting. They have a little less to coordinate than the bridal party does. So, but I did create just a very basic, same view for them, same idea with the discussion board, and, same with the bachelor party, any details that the groom wants to request for the bachelor party. And then the last link here in the quick links is just a link to a Zola page that has just a bunch of different wedding information. I referenced this on and off, so I ended up putting the link in my page and I left it for you guys too, just as a handy way to jump to it. Feel free to keep it or ditch it if you don't need it.